2025, does it rank at the top of problems with the royals?
I think it's number one.
It's so toxic. The allegations around Epstein are so disgraceful.
Why should somebody who's chosen to leave this country, the country of his birth, then be expected when he comes back for us to pay for his security when he's living in a $13 million house in beautiful sunny California?
The royal family it can't get any slimmer.
Meghan's got to make money. The only thing she has is acting.
I looked at the website this week and it's very, very heavily branded Duchess of Sussex.
Right.
So I wonder how successful it would be if she was doing it as Meghan Markle.
From disgraced princes and a shrinking inner circle to explosive tell-alls and high-stakes state visits, 2025 has been nothing short of a royal rollercoaster. This is a special edition of Royal Exclusive where we're looking back at a truly turbulent year for the House of Windsor. We'll be analysing the highs, the lows and the lessons learned to determine exactly how the firm can navigate 2026 and get the monarchy back on track. I'm Matt Wilkinson, the Sun's royal editor, and joining me today to dissect all of this and more is the former press secretary to Queen Elizabeth II, Ailsa Anderson, and royal correspondent for 5 News, Simon Vigar. Welcome to you both. Ailsa, if it's possible, could you sum up the past year in just 3 words?
I think this is probably the last year is the year they want to forget, but I would say devastating because of the Andrew and Epstein files. I would say sad because of the death of the Duchess of Kent. Right. And I would say hopeful because of the King's message about his cancer treatment being reduced. So I think those are the 3 words.
I think you've covered it very well, very well. But Simon, I mean, it has been, we just discussed there, it has been quite a turbulent year. There seems to be negative stories throughout 2025.
Yeah, and as Ailsa said, Andrew really tops the list. I mean, let's just take a step back here. He's lost the title Prince, which nobody ever thought was possible. I mean, the King is the King. The King can do what he wants, and through the powers he has removed that title. But we were even, when the allegations first broke, that was never on the cards. But the problem is it's been a drip, 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 and then 2 massive books in 2025 and the more emails proving what Andrew knew and when he knew it and how long he was in contact with him. So the disgrace of Andrew, who denies all of the allegations against him, of course, is the overarching story of the year. And finally, at the end of October, beginning of November, Charles and William act.
It's definitely been, the Andrew thing has definitely, we'll talk about it in a little bit, it's definitely rumbled on throughout the year. Just before we move on, 2025, we've had crisis years for the royal family in the past. We've had abdication crises, we've had the death of Princess Diana, we've had Megxit. Just before we go on to further topics, 2025, does it rank at the top of problems for the royals? I
think it's number one. I think it's got the top billing because this story has been here for 15 years. So I think it's number one for me.
It's so toxic. The allegations around Epstein are so disgraceful. Obviously, Andrew denies that he was involved in that. But the whole thing is so toxic. The payoff of millions of pounds to a woman he says he's never met. And it's dragged on for so long. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about the ranking, but the abdication in 1936, the death of Diana, the Annus Horribilis 1992, death of Diana 1997, and everything surrounding that. I mean, this is definitely up there, and it is a sort of an existential threat to the monarchy. When you have something that disgraceful so close to the crown, that's why they've had to. In the end, they've been so ruthless.
Few events have shaken the royal family this year more than the disgrace of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. From prince to pauper, the Epstein scandal has eclipsed the monarchy's charitable endeavours and tarnished the name of the royal family on a global stage. Now caught in a web of damaging emails and shifting stories, what more can the king do to protect their reputation? We've touched on it a little bit about Andrew, but the thing possibly that really kicked it all off, it really was the final insult, was these Epstein emails that came out, and they were talking about Andrew had still kept in contact with Jeffrey Epstein when he had told everybody. Did a whole interview saying that he'd cut him off. That, for me, I don't know what you feel about Ailsa, but that's when I thought, oh, he's in trouble now.
Absolutely. And the whole tone of the email as well. He was almost apologising what was going on towards Jeffrey Epstein, and then sort of signed it off with, we looking forward to, playing again. We will play again. And it just shows clearly his total lack of judgment. And he's been caught out in a lie on a global scale.
At the start of this year, he was Prince Andrew. He was living in Royal Lodge. He was the Duke of York. He's none of those anymore, Simon.
He was a Vice Admiral.
He was a Vice Admiral.
Yeah, and Order of the Garter and all of those honours that some people think are ridiculous, but Andrew certainly didn't think they were ridiculous. They meant a great deal to him. And, it's we can go back to the Newsnight interview. I mean, there are several important points, but the Newsnight interview and his attitude during the Newsnight interview is so instructive. The sort of blasé responses to a lot of the questions. I watched it again recently. Emily Maitlis is so fair. And even at the very end, she says, is there anything else you want to say? No, I think you said...
Exactly.
I think you said it always. That was your final chance,
When you had an opportunity to actually say, our thoughts and prayers are with those who are victims of abuse and trafficking.
And notable that the King and the Queen's statement in November mentioned exactly that, which had never come in Andrew's. I think the last straw, Matt, apart from the emails, which were clear evidence, but when we were covering the King's visit to the Vatican in October, I think it was, and it was overshadowed still by the Virginia Giuffre revelations, that probably was the last straw. It's like, this cannot go on. And we don't know what's still coming, which hasn't been published yet.
Well, I was wondering whether 2025 draws a line under Andrew, whether he's finally been dealt with, whether he's finally been stripped, he's finally been humiliated, the King's drawn a line underneath it. Is it possible, looking at a positive from 2025, that the Andrew problem's been sorted?
Well, I don't know. I thought it may have been sorted now, and yet we're seeing more and more revelations and photographs of Andrew sort of lying across the laps of girls. So I suppose there is a window of hope once he actually leaves Royal Lodge and moves to, allegedly Sandringham, somewhere on the Sandringham estate, and maybe we won't see him for a while. The only pictures we're seeing at the moment are of him out riding on the Windsor estate. So who knows?
I don't know what else the King can do, but it is important to stress that that the FBI has never interviewed Andrew. They've never asked. I mean, there was a chance that he was going to give evidence by video link. That never happened, even as a witness, let alone a suspect. He's never been charged with anything. So I don't know what, in that circumstance, what more the King could do.
So there's potential for an even worse 2026 for Andrew, but there could be more. He could end up. He's not just going to have a quiet life in Sandringham. There could be more people, police wanting to speak to him. But he continues to deny everything, obviously.
He denies everything.
So since the Megxit bombshell in 2020, Harry's security row has been a looming issue for the royal family. Now, as a full-time resident of Montecito, and despite a year of legal setbacks, the vast majority of Sun readers feel that Harry should not be entitled to taxpayer-funded armed security. We're in a situation now where earlier this year he was fighting a legal case. He lost that legal case, but he still could get his armed security back. Explain how that's happened.
Well, I covered that court case. I've covered all of them, actually. But I remember doing a piece to camera earlier this year on the security case. And the best way I could describe it was that he was appealing a decision about a decision on his security. I mean, it got really complicated and caught up with the weeds. But the bottom line is, he had 24-hour armed security when he was here as the Duke of Sussex. And now when he returns, it's not 24-hour around-the-clock armed security. His argument is, they had racist death threats when they were in this country. I just reread a passage of the book about the wedding. On the carriage procession from the castle and around Windsor, he was just looking at the police snipers on the roof because they had that many. So that's what's in his head. That's why he won't bring his family to the UK. The credible death threats, and he believes that absolutely when they're here, of course they pay for their own security in California, but when they're here, they should have the same level. Nothing's changed. That's his argument. And it seems that the current Home Secretary is reviewing the decision that was made by that committee, the Ravek committee. It's terribly complicated, Ailsa.
Phew. I'm glad you answered that one. I have to say, Matt, I agree with the Sun readers. Totally. And, we're in a country that's going through an economic decline at the moment. People are struggling to pay their heating bills, their food bills. We've got more people living on the streets than ever before. Why should somebody who's chosen to leave this country, the country of his birth, to move to America, then be expected when he comes back for us to pay for his security when he's living in a $13 million house in beautiful sunny California? Why?
The argument is he's given up that privilege by stepping down as a working royal and moving abroad. He's given up the privilege, his birthright in many ways, that as the king's son, there's huge threats against him, so he should have this police protection. But the counter argument is that they claim it's actually cheaper. So to just have a salaried armed officer every 4 or 5 months when he comes over to be with Harry.
And he says the threat against him hasn't changed. And of course, I haven't even mentioned the Taliban. Harry was out in Afghanistan fighting the Taliban. So there's that threat against his life as well, in the days when he was described by the head of the army as a bullet magnet.
Would you not say that threat has increased after he wrote his book Spare, when he talked himself about killing the Taliban?
Yeah. The really sad part of all of this is that he won't bring his children to the UK. It's a sort of standoff at the moment. Obviously, he saw his father in September. But the people I feel sorry for are the king and the kids, because they literally haven't seen each other for years.
It's extraordinary. I covered those cases as well. We thought it was over in May. Harry launched a bit of a tirade in a BBC interview, blasting at a good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up. And it's an extraordinary turnaround that we could be in the situation where he finds another way through the back door to get back what he's been fighting for 5 years now.
Yeah, well, we might see it. We will find out this year, won't we? In the coming year.
And be careful what you wish for, because what if he loses? Where does he moan then? Who does he complain to? If Ravek say, no, actually, we've done a review and we agree you do not need armed security, where does he go after that? That's.
I don't know. I'm not a security expert, but can he bring his own security people with him? And
not with guns. Yeah, so he brings his own security. But positivity, looking forward to if he does actually win, if he does actually get a victory, then we might see more of the children, but not Meghan.
Well, I presume she would come. Obviously, there was that moment on
the
the steps of St Paul's in the Platinum Jubilee where there were boos as they went up the steps. So that won't have been enjoyable. But I would have thought if the kids come, she would come.
Like a reality star hopping on the next viral trend, Meghan just can't stop thinking of new money-making schemes. 2025 saw underwhelming royal jam and a Netflix run that sent some viewers to sleep. As a novelty of Meghan Markle products start to wear off, is the Duchess of Sussex running out of ways to make money just as her cultural relevancy runs out? Has Meghan had a good year? We've had a lot from Meghan, haven't we? We've had As Ever, we've had With Love. How's she got on, Ailsa?
Well, is it not the old adage, all publicity is good publicity? And we are still talking about her. Every time I've been on this show, Matt, which I thoroughly enjoy coming on, so thank you, we talk about Meghan. So she is being spoke about.
It's been a different Meghan this year. She's been an entrepreneur. She's actually launched things. We haven't seen her this busy in the past. She's done the odd interview, moaned on her Netflix show and stuff like that, and done some appearances. But this year, she's gone in hard.
I watched one of the programmes, which was as much as I could imagine. You mentioned the sprinkling of the flower petals everywhere. I haven't tasted the jam. I'm told it tastes like jam. It costs a lot of money, doesn't it? But my takeaway from this year is the phrase, which I'd never heard before, hate watching. Right. And I hear there are people who watch programmes because they loathe the programmes so much. So apparently people did watch the entire series. But I don't think it was one of Netflix's biggest hits this year. I'm sure they're going to want more royal stuff and less biscuit making.
She's moved into the world of entrepreneurialship. She's the Confessions of a Female Founder. She's got that going on. She's promoting all sorts of things.
And going back
Instagram.
to acting as well, isn't she?
Go back to acting, yeah.
That's a tough one because how do you suspend disbelief when you know who it is? How do you suspend disbelief for 2 hours that she is not the Duchess of Sussex, one of the most famous women in the world? It's a difficult one, I would have thought, but people will watch it. Yeah, but yeah, good luck with the business. Was there much jam sold? Was there much jam actually made? Because they seem to sell out very, very quickly. But maybe that was purely demand.
Well, they have to make money somehow. They've made money in the past going on Netflix or writing books, criticising the royal family. Meghan's got to make money. The only thing she has is acting and As Ever. Always mix As Ever up with Love. With Love is the TV show. As Ever is the food.
It's the products.
And the brand. Yeah, but she needs to be she's put herself in a sphere now where she is a businesswoman. Ailsa.
Yeah. I looked at the website this week, and it's very, very heavily branded Duchess of Sussex.
Right.
So I wonder how successful it would be if she was doing it as Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It needs to work, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We need her to be successful. Otherwise, we would go back to a kind of pre-2020 situation.
And also, she is making money so they can survive. We'd be having more of a sort of a complaint if she was sort of sponging off taxpayers or claiming benefits. So we can't have it both ways.
That's been their argument, wasn't it? When they moved to America, they said, we're not taking any money from the sovereign grant. So,
yeah, it's very interesting that the 50-50 that they were proposing and believed that they had been promised before it was whipped away from them, which is Harry's story at the Sandringham Summit, which, goodness me, is almost 6 years ago now that happened, and which obviously led to Megxit just before the pandemic. They believed that 50-50 was possible, and I think most sensible people think somehow it's possible. But
I don't think it's possible now. Now we've got As Ever and With Love, because
not with
like you pointed out, the Duchess of Sussex is her title.
No, not with them, but I think in future generations. So, for example, Charlotte, Louis, other royals, they should be able to have a mix, a hybrid somehow.
I think there was just a concern because it didn't work for the then Earl and Countess of Wessex when they both had their own businesses. He was in the entertainment industry with his production company. She was working for a PR firm. And then we had all the negative stories about using their connections to gain money for their own firms.
So the British people are, I include myself in this, we are hypocrites, but we have to decide what we want. If you want them to be full-time royals, you've got to pay for it, and it costs money.
Yeah.
And if you're going to let them make some of their own money, don't accuse them of constantly cashing in. There's got to be a way of mixing it, I think.
So a good year or a bad year for Meghan Markle?
I think it is no change, actually. No change from last year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same. I think Harry had a good year. He had a good, very, very good September when he was here in the UK. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how popular they are in the United States. I mean, here you get the sense that people have, it's almost 6 years now. People have moved on, and they've moved on.
Well, I wonder if people were kind of, the more they see from Meghan, or they see of Meghan on that TV show, they kind of switched off. She did exude her personality a little bit more. She was playful, she was singing, she was dancing, and still people kind of went, I don't like it. And that must be very sad. We mentioned the Duke of York campaign earlier. There is a tiny campaign, I can tell you, in Sussex to remove, I don't know, it's not going to happen, but to remove the dukedom there. I think she made one visit to Sussex early on. I think we did the maths, so there for about 4.5 hours or something, did 3 engagements. Definitely in Chichester for a bit, but some of the MPs in Sussex were talking about that. I don't know how you do it. You need an Act of Parliament, don't you? I think they've probably got other things on their plate. Yeah. Well, we can see they can do anything now. We didn't think they could get rid of Prince. Didn't think they could get rid of Duke of York. And that is a real shot across the bows of the Sussexes saying, we can actually do this. Well, let's see how that turns out. In a dose of heartwarming news, January and December 2025 saw Catherine and the King give positive updates on their cancer treatment. Princess Anne continues to be the backbone of the firm, and Prince George has been stepping up to help his parents at royal engagements. Who will we see shine in 2026? As I say, Catherine seems to be fully back to normal. What do you think?
Yep, and she confirmed the going into remission in January. So yeah, she's had a very busy year, and of course we've just seen the Carol concert at Westminster Abbey, which is a new sort of royal tradition that she's in charge of. Yeah, I think it was great news, great for William, obviously, which he spoke about in the Disney documentary with Eugene Levy. And clearly, you know, she is one of the stars of the whole show. That they need her in many different ways.
Yeah. And she's the real glue, I think, that sticks the family together. You know, she's the constant. And I think the images of her going to the Abbey for her Carol concert with the children, it seemed, you know, it was a family affair on a global scale, really. It was lovely.
I think we see a better Prince William when Catherine's well as well. We've seen a more confident William this year. But the remission, if we go back to January, the remission statement was almost kind of just dropped in. I was quite surprised. I remember phoning at the palace and saying, she said that she's in remission. I go, did not everyone know that? And it was quite a surprise to suddenly hear it, but it kicked off a positive year for Catherine.
Yeah, absolutely. And she is sort of, you know, almost back to normal, I would say, in terms of fulfilling engagements, although she's not beating the King. I see today that in a poll for this year, the King has undertaken more engagements than any other member of the royal family.
Incredibly busy.
Considering he's battling cancer.
He's still being treated, I mean, good news recently, but still obviously receiving some treatment. 3 inward state visits this year, which is a sort of recent record. And then he was in Italy, and then he went back to the Vatican. No, really, really busy. He's packing a lot in, and he seems really very jolly. That's what he wants to do.
Well, you mentioned there about the fact that the King did deliver what he calls his good news. So we understand that going into 2026, they will be reducing his cancer treatment. I mean, that has to be good news. Ailsa.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm no medical expert, but for him to actually come out and make a statement like that, because it's quite unusual for members of the royal family to actually talk about their health because they categorise it as sort of a private matter. But for him to come and give that fantastic statement saying he is able now in the new year to reduce his ongoing treatment for cancer, you know, can only give us, you know, warm-hearted, you know, joy, I suppose. And, you know, happy Christmas, sir.
And they've been really bowled over by the amount of men now checking or getting tested. So men generally, obviously, are notorious for not going to the doctor. British men in particular are terrible at going to the doctor. So the amount of people checking out the website, at least, Macmillan Cancer Research or Prostate Cancer UK or whatever, has been fantastic. And that's, I think, been one of the drivers for them making the occasional public statement. Actually, the best stuff we get is when he goes to visit hospitals or places where people are being treated, and you just get little snippets of conversations he has with people there.
What's been the King's, I'll do them both. What's been the Princess of Wales's biggest achievement or most welcome appearance this year?
Well, I think the COP and Earthshot are the obvious sort of big public ones, but the interview with Disney in the autumn, the Eugene Levy interview, was, I think, the most revealing interview he's ever given, where he obviously kept mentioning the word change for when he becomes king, unspecified, ambivalent change, but some sort of change. But he did lift the lid on protecting the kids, how Catherine's been. And I think that was, you know, a genuinely interesting interview where we saw more of William in that.
But it was also very clever because you're not your ideal sort of normal interview. You know, he's chosen a Canadian actor-comedian to conduct the interview. So, you know, almost playing it safe. They know they're not going to get the killer questions. And even how he arrived for the interview on his sort of electric scooter was a bit more fun, very different.
Yeah, I mean, we've all sort of given up asking Ailsa because I think the only time, just racking my brains, the only time he's done an interview with a journalist would have been Tom Bradby on the engagement interview in 2010.
Gosh.
But if you think back at other interviews, I think it's mostly celebs that
playing it safe.
Grill them.
Grill them. But no, it was entertaining. We learned a lot.
But it was, you did, I mean, you did, it's a soft interview, but you do, there are revealing moments.
But they're very clever because they will only reveal what they want to reveal.
Yeah.
Of course.
He's a polished. I think William's quite polished when journalists and anyone talks to him. But I enjoy the Eugene Levy thing. It really opened up a lot of things. And what about some of the other royals? Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. They've been busy. We've had them all over the world.
So busy. I worked for both of them as their press secretary when they were the Earl and Countess of Wessex, and I genuinely could not say a bad word about them. They both work really hard. They're both passionate about the charities they support. The Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme is, I think it's 70 years old next year, and I know that's going to be a massive year for that charity. So yes, absolutely. And where, two other members of the royal family have been in treatment for cancer, Sophie and Edward have really stepped up to the mark with Princess Anne. And, we even saw the Duke of Kent 2 weeks ago going to Coventry Cathedral with the President of Germany. So this is a man who's 90 years old. So other members of the royal family are really stepping up to help support the King.
Sophie's really important, and she should get more media coverage, but it's almost like they don't want her to get too much media coverage. It's quite hard to find out what's going on. But when she does either foreign tours or domestic stuff, she's really great, and obviously, warm and
animated
genuine and all this.
Yeah.
Philip was an outsider who went into the family, and he really rated Sophie, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then the title Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, which was absolutely saved for them. That was no accident. The Queen and Philip wanted them to become the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh.
Well, I interviewed her. We went to Bosnia. She went to one of the many, not so glamorous, but tough trips that she takes. We went to Bosnia, and we did ask her. We said, you're known as the royal family's secret weapon. And that's something that stuck with her the whole time. And I think she said something like, it's good, but I can't be too secret. There's no use being a secret weapon if nobody knows what I'm doing. Well, let's just briefly about their two children. James, the Earl of Wessex, he's just turned 18, but he's not, we don't think he's going to work in Royal or HRH. Lady Louise, due to graduate next year, could be an amazing future for them too.
Yeah, well, I mean, Edward and Sophie have taken this decision for the children not to be HRH or Prince and Princess, which absolutely was their right. So, I suppose that could be restored at the click of a finger. But I guess they want a future for their children, like Princess Anne's children, Peter and Zara, where they are able to go off on their own, do their own things without being accused of cashing in the whole time. Although that still does happen occasionally. But the royal family it can't get any slimmer. They're going to need help. William and Catherine, in the fullness of time, are going to need help if they're going to carry out the number of engagements that they carry out now.
And the King has been deploying his sort of cousins. We've had Zara and Peter at garden parties, Eugenie and Beatrice. So I think you're right. William and Catherine will need people to help them going forward.
I think Lady Louise will be the next secret weapon. I think she, when she comes out, if she goes to the armed forces or something like that, I think she could be. I think she's really down to earth and lovely.
I love how close she was to Philip as well. I mean, the carriage driving thing is obviously a link that they had.
And I saw a photograph of Lady Louise on her way, I think, to Bristol, and she was sitting down on the floor of a public train on her laptop. And I thought, there's no airs and graces about her whatsoever.
Yeah, they're lovely. Right, seeing as this is Royal exclusive, just little quick-fire questions at the end. Very briefly, what next for Prince Andrew? This is looking forward to 2026. What next for Prince Andrew?
Well, I'd like to say I hope not writing a book, not giving a television interview, moving house, thinking properly about what he goes, what he does, maybe a bit of reflection, personal reflection, and staying out of the public eye.
Yeah, I mean, we're assuming he's going to go to Sandringham, but he might not. He doesn't have to. He's got plenty of friends around the world. He could end up, apparently there's this mini palace in Abu Dhabi that's waiting, that's vacant and waiting for him. I mean, that would make sense. Just cut your ties. But he obviously does have grandchildren in the UK, so that would be difficult.
Next one. Are Harry and Meghan going to return to the UK?
No.
No.
No? All right.
Not together.
End of that question. And finally, what type of 2026 do you see for Prince George?
New school for a start, so that will be a big step for him.
Yeah, whether it'll be co-ed Marlborough or whether he'll go to Eton like his dad did. That's actually quite an interesting debate between Catherine and William, because
Who's going to win?
Catherine went to the co-ed school, but Eton is extremely close to Windsor Castle, isn't it? So.
More joint engagements with Catherine and William, like we saw William at the Passage?
I think so, a few more.
Yeah.
But
not too many. I don't think
no.
too many. I think, they're very, very protective of their children and the exposure. So I don't think too many more, but maybe slightly upping it.
We had VE Day. I was there when they were at Buckingham Palace and George was taken around speaking to lots of the D-Day veterans. And that was incredible to watch and see him stepping up.
Well, we might see, depending on how England does in the World Cup next year, we might see a trip to America with father and son.
Yeah, I think it's slightly more engagements. That would be brilliant, the obvious one to go to. But they are, as we've said, they are so protective, quite rightly, and it's got to be gentle. I mean, teenage years are difficult for anybody, let alone if you're, in that particular family firm.
Just let him be a boy, let him be a teenager. There's plenty of time. But it's good to see him. Good to see him. Right, there's a lot to look back on and a lot to look forward to. Happy New Year. But thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming on. That's all we have time for on this week's Royal Exclusive. Thanks so much for joining us. As we look ahead to 2026, we want to hear from you. Which stories and guests should we bring to the table next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Stay tuned and make sure to subscribe to our new Royal Exclusive YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Have a wonderful holiday and we'll see you in the new year.